that? Well, thank you very much for that introduction. I feel like we should stop right at this point before going any further. That was very nice. Um, we're in the middle of another very crazy market, and quite often we're asked, how do you navigate through this? This might actually be worse than it was in 2016, 2017. From our perspective, it is. You guys would know better, I guess. Multiple offers, over asking bids are pretty much the standard today. And as before, the buyers are taking all the risk. So how do we protect the buyers in a seller's market? We'll discuss today a couple of options to navigate through this market, and maybe an option or two what you should not do, or at least avoid. So I think the first and most common option, and you're probably somewhat aware of it, is the listing inspection. We call it at Housemaster, we call it the pre-inspection. I'm sure that some of you have tried this option, but for those that haven't, it does take a little getting used to. Historically, the home selling process is you take the clients out, you find a house, you negotiate, you draw up a contract, you have the home inspection, then you might have to renegotiate. Sometimes the deal falls through, and then you have to amend the contract. Unfortunately, this process ensures that someone loses. Either the seller has to negotiate again, or the buyer has to settle. It's not always a win-win situation. It's a time-consuming process because you have to pull the house off the market for that 1 week condition for the inspection. So that's a week that you've taken away from your marketing. And at the end of it all, there is that risk, even though it's small, that the deal may fall through, but certainly the risk of renegotiating is quite high. That's where the pre-inspection really comes in. That's the key to the pre-inspection. It's carried out by the sellers prior to the house being put on the market. Pre-inspections can minimize or even eliminate negotiations or even closing delays or deal fall-throughs. After an inspection is carried out, the seller basically has two options. He can sell the house in as-is condition, the good and the bad. Everything that's nice and the warts that go with it. He discloses it, the house is priced accordingly, and you just move on. It tends out to, again, eliminate any surprises for the buyers. There's no renegotiation, no deal fall-throughs. Everybody knows what they're getting. It builds trust. The seller may also have the option of maybe correcting some of the deficiencies we find in the inspection. That's certainly a viable option. Sometimes we'll find something very serious, and you as realtors may advise your client, hey, this could be a game changer. We really should address, hypothetically, the mold in the attic. It's a $3,000, $4,000 repair, but it could cost you $10,000 or $20,000. Maybe less offers will be presented because of this condition. So maybe we should correct it. So again, the seller has the option: fix something, fix everything, or fix nothing. The key is that you're disclosing the condition of the house.
Ray, may I just intercept for a second?
Absolutely.
So this is really amazing to listen to, because here, whenever we think of buyer, we think of home inspection.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not the case. I have just prepared, actually, this afternoon, I'll be sending out a buyer and a listing presentation that I've prepared for the whole brokerage in a template form where you can add in, and I've actually added Ray's contact in there as well, because you should present that to your buyers and sellers. And I've actually put in home inspection or a pre-inspection in your listing presentation as well. This is very important to know that don't just, when you're thinking of a buyer, think of a home inspection. You can actually get this all done and out of the way when you're listing a property, and that saves so much time and effort on everybody's part.
We've been doing it for decades. Relocation companies have been doing it for decades. It works. It truly does work. So what's in it for you as a realtor? Well, why the pre-inspection? So I think Zabia has touched upon some of the things, but from what we see, it differentiates your listings right off the bat. So let's say there's two houses up for sale on the same street or the same neighborhood. Only one of them has a home inspection report available. Well, already that's going to offer or garner more attention. You've got two houses up for sale, only one has the report. People are going to gravitate towards that house and say, oh, there's a report. I want to look into it. You know, they'll look at the pictures, they'll look at the videos that you provided. They just spend more time looking at that listing. Does that increase the risk or the chances of a sale? I think so. You would know better than I, but certainly more time that is spent on your listing can only be a positive thing. Very importantly, it builds trust and confidence for the buyers to place an offer. This is huge. Today's home buyer wants to gather as much information about the house even before they set up a viewing of it. They'll use your virtual tour, your pictures, your home inspection, and it just streamlines the whole process. A buyer that is reluctant to place an offer in a multiple offer situation may be more confident to do so if an inspection report is available. At least they know what they are buying. Again, it helps to eliminate lost market time. There isn't that condition after the sale. Minimizes renegotiations and deal fall throughs. Nobody can come back to you and say, oh, I didn't know your roof leaks. I didn't know you had an old furnace. So, yeah, you did. We disclosed it all up front. Another key component of this, and it's even maybe more important today in this market than before, is that it greatly reduces non-disclosure liability. If a buyer buys a house with no inspection report, not having the ability to hire his own inspector, he buys it blindly, he moves in, and he discovers issues with the house that he didn't expect. He may feel, right or wrong, he may feel that the seller tried to hide it, that the agent was in cahoots with the seller and he got ripped off. It could turn into an ugly legal situation. If there's an inspection report, you're being as upfront and disclose the condition as you possibly can. It greatly reduces any liability to the seller or to the agent. Another way of looking at pre-inspections, and to be honest with you, this is new to me because I've been pushing pre-inspections for decades. This is the first time I've actually thought of it this way. It was mentioned to me by a Toronto realtor. She does pre-inspections on 100% of her listings, and she has been for many years, not just in this market, but she always has. And the way she put it is that a pre-inspection, how did she put it? I want to try to use her words. She felt it was ethically the right thing to do. Ethics. The way it was put to me is that the seller has had a pretty good deal in the past little while with the current market conditions. Sellers are selling their houses in days at record prices, and the buyers are taking all the risks. A pre-inspection offers some protection for the buyers that they otherwise would not have. They may still be paying crazy prices, but at least they know what they're getting and they're making informed decisions. So when dealing with sellers, we would strongly recommend getting a pre-inspection for the business reasons, for the ethical reasons, for the liability reasons. And if you have a buyer, ask that listing agent for a copy of a report. Often we are asked in the middle of a house being up for market that, hey, Ray, we need a real quick inspection. I'm being asked for inspection reports. And we'll go in and, whip out a quick report the next day. And because there is a demand. So you could kind of push for an inspection, even though there isn't one provided. So that is great if all those things are in place. So what if there isn't an inspection report and they have no intentions of providing one? A couple of options that you still have. It's not as dire. as you may think. You could ask for a pre-offer inspection. That's where the buyer finds the right house, brings in a home inspection to do a full inspection of the home prior to putting an offer. It's the best way to protect the buyer. However, this does require almost a 3-hour window to allow the buyer and the inspector in. And it's my experience, and again, you would know better than me, that 3 hours is just too long of a visit. A lot of realtors, a lot of sellers are saying no to that request. Some are agreeing to it. We do a lot of them, particularly in Toronto, more than Mississauga. But a lot of people are being turned down on that request because 3 hours is just too long. So we've adapted and we've created a 1-hour inspection. Now here, a 1-hour inspection focuses on 3 major systems of the house. You pick the systems, you being you and your buyer. We'll focus on that. You get a written report, and it offers some protection, not 100%, but it's something for the buyers to take with them rather than just going in there blindly. So how do you pick these 3? Like, how would you know? Well, there's little things that we will help you, of course, but if it's a particularly old house, you may want to focus on the attic. You may want to focus on foundation leakage, the electrical. If it's a newer house, well, maybe you might want to focus on the roof, maybe the heating system, it all depends. Or maybe on the listing, they say there's been a new roof installed, there's been a new furnace installed. Well, then you say, you know what, let's not look at these 2 items and look at something else. So together we'll work on it and come up with 3 items that hopefully will satisfy most buyers. It's not 100%, but it does eliminate a lot of the risk. So the one thing I would recommend you not doing, and it's becoming very commonplace, is a lot of inspectors are offering these 20-minute, 30-minute verbal inspection walkthroughs. There's different names for it. You have to be very careful with that in the sense that anything that is verbal is still an agreement. And if there isn't a written report and there isn't a written contract signed by the buyer and the inspector, then that inspector has no insurance. If there's no insurance, that leaves the sellers, the buyers, and the real estate agents very, very vulnerable should something go wrong after the buyers move in. They say it's verbal, but it isn't, because if I go in there and say your roof looks fine and he has problems with the roof, I can go back and say, no, I never said that, but the agent was there and the agent heard me say that, and it becomes the case of he said, she said. It just gets messy. And in the end of it all, the inspector has no insurance to cover himself. So maybe I'll go after the real estate agents because I know they're insured. So it's just be careful of that. It's easy and convenient, but it does leave you open to liability. So if your inspector does that, at least you should provide something in writing. He should be signing a contract. Don't just do it on a handshake and here's $100. It should be more legit than that. So anyways, that's basically my talk. I want to answer some questions. I hear I'm getting a few questions coming up. So basically we're looking at a pre-inspection on listings, protects the sellers, it streamlines the process, definitely protects the buyers, gives buyers confidence. So hopefully more buyers will come in and place an offer on that house. You have the option of a pre-offer inspection, full inspection before the offer date. Difficult to do, but we are doing them. You have the option of a 1-hour inspection. That's probably more common today. Just be wary of that quick in and out 20-minute inspection. So I've got
I just want to, I want to say a couple of things. So Ray, you talked about the pre-inspection, which I know is an amazing thing, and I know that we used to use that a lot for older houses in Toronto. It's an as is in condition, and here it is.
Yeah.
But that's even for newer properties, and I just want to kind of clarify that's just exactly like a realtor who's listing a condo and has already ordered a status certificate and attached it for anybody to send out an offer. The status certificate is right there. Go ahead and put an offer on it, after showing it to your lawyers without any fear, right? People are always more confident to put in 5, 10, 15, $20,000 more towards a property when they've already been able to have a look at it, rather than going in with fear as to what might come up. So you're not only making it you're actually bringing value by spending 500, $550. You're actually bringing value to your client by most likely people bringing in a stronger offer just because they're confident with what they're going in, because they're not fearful of what might happen with the house once they close. The lemon and lemonade situation would not happen. uh, the other thing that Ray talked about was all houses that are going on market. They are now holding off offers for 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, right? Ray has done that with me in previous years when the market has been really hot. There were offer presentation. I don't know if you remember, Ray, at Foxglove, you did that with me where we went in before the offer. I actually was able to get the agent work with me and the sellers work with me because they knew that I had done a home inspection. So this was at the buyer's end. There were multiple offers. It was absolutely ridiculous. I think there were 30 offers. We were lined up till 12 o'clock at night. But Ray had gone in the day before, done a home inspection for us. And because of that, and obviously they knew because I'd booked a home inspection. So because of the fact that I knew what they were, and they weren't scared of a mutual release later in the day. Even on a firm deal, there can be a mutual release or there can be other issues that arise. They knew that I knew exactly what my clients were getting into, and they preferred my offer on above and any other offer because of that fact. So these are they help you with negotiation as well. And of course,
Yeah.
like the sorry.
I was just going to say, some agents that aren't familiar with the pre-inspection program sometimes get um, caught up in the details of the report. Oh my God, you told everybody that the furnace is really old. I don't want to disclose that. I don't want to advertise a negative. Don't worry about that. It's really not a game changer. Uh, Being honest and upfront, people just gain confidence from that. They trust the report, they trust what you're doing, and it
Absolutely.
encourages people to come in,
Ray,
which is what
if I may share
I
that
was just
story
mentioning.
of the house that we did for my client in Streetsville, right?
The
And there was
Kitech one?
high-tech plumbing in it. And
Yeah.
Ray was in the basement and he was doing the home inspection and he called me, and this was big dollars on the line for me, right? It was a over $1 million property I was selling for them, over 1.5, and I was purchasing one that was just as expensive. There was a lot of money involved there, and Ray called me and he said on my phone, and he said, "I've seen something. I want you to come downstairs." And I went downstairs and he said, "There's Kitech plumbing." And I said, "Call my client downstairs and let her know, you know." And we informed her. As Ray was explaining this, I went outside, talked to the listing agent, right? I said, "I need this fixed. You have not done any disclosure on Kitech plumbing, right?" And and Ray provided with the plumbing company that actually fixed that Kitech plumbing prior to the closing. The seller paid for it. It was all done. We got the certification that it's all cleaned up. But everything that might seem really big, what does a furnace cost, right? It's not that much in hindsight compared to the houses
Exactly.
that were, but the trust
Yeah.
that you will gain by saying that furnace is old. Now the client is looking at it that they know exactly that you have 40 grand on line of commission, right? And you're still talking about the furnace being old. you're fearless because your honesty comes first, and that's where your trust, build trust. Because I always say this is not a one day business. This is that one business that you can keep doing year after year, decade after decade, right? And your success is only based on referrals. If you service one person properly with a good solid team, you're able to do that ongoing. We have a couple of questions here. Ray, Vandana is asking, how detailed should a pre-inspection be?
Pre-inspection report for us, it's exactly the same as a buyer's inspection. To us, there's no difference because we are being hired to come up with the condition of the house. So all the systems, exactly the same procedure, exactly the same report. To us, there is no difference between a pre-inspection and a buyer's inspection. One report is exactly like the other. There is no difference.
Mhm. Patrick is asking, do we have to disclose to seller agent that we are going to do a pre-offer inspection? Lots of listings now only offer 30 minutes showing. What can we do in that case?
I would typically always recommend disclosing what you're doing. 30-minute inspections, what can we do in 30 minutes that typically takes 3 hours? Most agents are willing to do a 1 hour inspection. Most are willing to do that. A few are willing to give us the 3 hours for a full. But as far as I'm aware, the buying agent always lets the selling agent know that we're coming in to do an inspection.
Right. I mean,
If it,
Patrick, this is a true concern that some houses there's so many showings, and but that they're not able to book you anything more than half an hour. Half
yeah,
an hour is also a little to do with COVID. A lot of people are
yes,
putting on their listings half an hour showings simply because they cannot overlap lap showings. But it's not always, the half an hour is not always because of lack of time. It is also because of the the reason that you can't you should not be, best practices through COVID not to be booking double appointments in the same 1 hour. But if you ask for a home inspection, there can be those realtors that say, oh, because if there's going to be a latent defect, they actually have to tell everybody that's putting an offer. There will be realtors that are going to shrug from that, but I would also say that, be careful going into a listing from a realtor and a seller like that, because if they're not wanting to for you to do a home inspection, there's more than likely something in there that they're hiding, right?
yeah.
So at the end
So
of the day,
that's where the trust factor comes in,
mm,
right?
so
Yeah,
I
that's where
know
the
there's
trust factor comes in. Yeah.
absolutely, there's sneaky realtors that won't let you, because if there is a latent defect, they actually have to let everybody know, right? So it's all about, the long-term game. Rush into something that is not being looked into, or kind of wait for that one property where you can go in with commitment to your client, whether it's a seller or a buyer.
I've got a
Any
question here that says, who pays for the inspection report? That is totally up to you and the sellers. Many inspectors, many agents have paid for the inspection, the pre-inspection. Many sellers have paid for the pre-inspection. So that's just something that you discuss and negotiate with your client. There's no hard and set rule. Some will offer it as part of their service, and some will recommend that the sellers pay. So
I
that's
have
totally,
a bit of advice on that. It can be a marketing tool for you,
yeah,
where you are
absolutely.
actually a listing agent. So like I said, in my listing presentation is right there, a pre-inspection.
Yeah,
Pre-listing inspection is something I would offer as a tool, right?
yeah.
Everybody is trying to cut down on your commission, guys, right? The way you actually outshine everybody else, and I keep talking about that unique selling proposition, reaching above the noise, You have to be above and beyond the rest of the 80,000 realtors who are not even getting the beds fixed or a cleaning lady come in before listing a property. Now you're a realtor that not just gets his home staging done and the house in tip-top condition before selling it, you also are offering a pre-listing inspection being done, and you pay for it. So that's my advice. On the buying side, I would say is let your clients know that once the deal closes, you will give them the check. I would not commit to doing home inspection after home inspection after home inspection and spending out money from your pocket for deals that may not close. You, in this market, you may put down 5 offers before your buyer actually gets the house. So this is just my point of view on this.
If I can just add a little bit to that, Sabia, when it comes to pre-inspections with the sellers, it might be better to have the seller pay for the inspection and then maybe reimburse them. And the reason for that is we prefer to have our contract with the sellers. It makes it clear that we are working for the sellers and not for the real estate agents, because some people will feel, oh, you know, it's a biased report.
Well,
he's working for the agents paying him.
Yeah.
So yeah, so have the contract with the sellers actually pay us, and you could have your own little agreement that, hey, listen, we'll take care of the inspection fee afterwards.
Perfect. Sounds like a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
Any more questions, guys?
Sabiha, there is a seller's disclosure form, the SPIS, that we usually ask sellers to fill in. Most of the time it's not there, but can...
Okay, when it's a nice day, I'm gonna start to do something. I can
Sorry, Vandana, I couldn't hear you. The rest of your something else popped in.
Yeah, so my question was, there is a seller SPIS disclosure form that a realtor can ask a seller to fill in. So if the seller is doing the inspection, can we ask them to fill up that disclosure form? Because then it kind of absolves you of any liability of disclosure of anything that comes up in the report.
Right. So we always say not available for that on our listings.
Exactly.
Yes. That's a little bit different from a pre-listing inspection.
But if the seller is doing the pre-listing inspection, he's in a better position to fill the disclosure form, right? Because he has he probably has more information that he could put on that form.
No, because on the form, then you're holding more liability, right? If you you know, when you look at a home inspection, there's not much liability towards any party. It's whatever is found, right? A lot of times, for instance, if there's snow on the ground, the home inspector will not be able to check the foundation. A lot of times, if there's snow on the roof, they won't be able to check the roof. Ray, am I correct in this?
Yeah, you're right. It's a visual inspection. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If there's conditions in the house that means that we can't see those items, then it's not inspected. So underground things, maybe things behind furniture, snow-covered roofs, all of that.
Yeah, because that's protecting all parties. If you're actually signing, if you actually have that SPIS, then you're taking responsibility for a lot of things. And that's why we always put down not available.
Got it. Okay.
That's just, you want to have the least amount of liability. I know that, I mean, for instance, just as an example, a swimming pool in winter or an air conditioning in winter, under, what is it, 15 or 18 degrees, you cannot check air conditioning.
Yeah, 15, 16 Celsius and below, we don't inspect AC.
So a simple thing like an AC, you can't check in the wrong weather, right? So it's it's literally as what and especially, weather here. Yes, Abu, I see a hand raised. Go ahead.
So during one of the pre-inspections, we came across some of the foundation related issues and all, and I know like probably as a home inspector, that's not coming under your area. So in that case, like what do we do? Like because pre-inspection anyway, we get it for a very short time, and then we ended up finding something with the foundation things, and also how do we go about in that kind of situation?
I'm not sure I'm totally understanding the question. You're saying a pre-inspection that is provided to you by the seller?
No. So as from the buyer side, we did a pre-inspection, and we kind of found some issues with the foundation of the building while looking into the
Okay.
basement, and
Right.
that's the time the inspector told that's not something he can advise on because that doesn't come under his area of expertise. So I know like with the current scenario, we get very little time for doing even pre-inspection nowadays. So in that case, like what would be the next course of action if we want to move forward with that building?
Okay, so when you're saying building, I'm assuming you're meaning a house.
Yeah.
Okay, so you brought in an inspector on behalf of the buyers. The inspector found some issues.
Yeah.
And you wanted to know how to proceed with those issues.
Yeah, because this was a foundation related issue. The
Okay.
building foundation related
Why
issue.
would the inspector not be able to advise you on a foundation related issue?
I want to say something about this.
Go ahead, Samir.
This is why you have to be careful with who you're taking in, right?
Because I'm not totally understanding the
He's
question.
a home
The reason
inspector, if
you
he's
bring
not
an
giving you
inspector-
advice. Yeah, if he's not,
Yeah,
so that
Yeah.
means he doesn't know what he's talking about, basically.
well, that's the point of hiring an inspector, to advise you on the condition of the house. A foundation inspection is part of what we do. So if there's serious structural issues, there's cracking, there's leakage, that inspector should be able to advise you on the severity and roughly the cost. The costs aren't to the penny, but you need to know, is it a $500 repair or a $50,000 repair? Is it a $5,000? He'll be able to narrow that down to you and tell you just how serious and how severe that issue is. That's basically what we do. That's why you hire us. And based on our advice, you decide, or the buyer decides, it's a $5,000 repair. That's too much for me. I don't want it. That's the buyer's decision. Or it's $5,000 repair on $1 million home. That's nothing. Again, the buyer's decision.
I was under the impression that that structure and the foundation related issues are not covered by the house inspectors, because that's something related to structures, and for that structural engineers needs to be involved. So I was trying to get clarification on that. Like, can I expect the inspector to give suggestion on those areas?
Yes, in a quick answer, yes. We're not structural engineers. We're not going to tell you how to remove load-bearing walls and how to remove steel beams and columns and redesign everything. But if there is structural issues with the concrete foundation, yeah, of course the home inspector is going to advise you that there's an issue. Yeah,
would they tell even the severity and the cost involved on correcting those issues?
But again, cost would be estimates. We're not contractors, we're inspectors. So cost would be estimates. But we'd be pretty damn accurate. Like, we'd be able to narrow the estimate to a comfortable point. Again, is it several hundreds, several thousands? Or do you have a very serious structural issue here that, this is very, very serious. You're talking tens of thousands, think twice.
And Ray, I've been in that position with that house in Lisgar where you actually, there was a foundation, there were some cracks in it, and he gave us a rough idea. He also gave us the number for the person, and the very next day the person came in and gave us an exact. So you gave us the contact for the person who fixed
Yeah.
it as well,
Well,
right? So
that's what the service is all about,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's not much use to you to go around and telling you you've got all these problems. See you later. I'm out of here. How does that help you? You need to be able to see the end game. You know, we find the problems. That's what we're hired to do, but we have to put it in perspective that a home buyer who has never owned a house perhaps before can understand. So you can't just say, oh, you got serious structural issues. Please pay me $500. You're not getting full service if that's what you have been
And the
experiencing.
whole key is to protect your client, right? So going in, the client knows I bought a $1.5 million house. I know that I have to spend in $5,000 on this, right?
Exactly.
It so calms them down, and it doesn't
Absolutely.
matter. It can be the roof, it can be the furnace, it can be anything,
Exactly.
but it's
It,
always, yeah.
yeah, it's been my experience that you have to bring it down to a number. People get, when they don't understand, they get emotional. And if they're making decisions based on emotion, they're going to make the wrong decision. So what we try to do is to try to explain what it is, the severity, how to correct it, and then give them an estimate as to what it's going to cost. Now they have to wrestle with a number. Like Sadhya said, now they have a $5,000 expense. People can wrap their head around a number. They can't understand the emotion and the fear, but they can understand a number. And they're saying, geez, you know, for a $1.5 million home and I've got $5,000 to repair it, you know, that's a decision they can make and live with. But to just say you've got a serious issue and then walk away, well, that's not fair.
That's breaking a deal, not making it. And we are deal makers, right?
Yeah, that's not right. That isn't right at all.
Ray, if you could quickly highlight, I mean, whenever you come in for home inspections, you will also register the appliances and all of that stuff, if you and utilities and all of that, if you can quickly kind of touch on that.
Okay, so yeah, part of our package, when we do the inspection, we provide a report almost instantaneously. Sometimes it's delayed a few minutes, but usually by the end of the inspection or a few minutes afterwards, you'll get an email that gives you access to our report. Our report is uploaded on our website. You as the agent and your buyer client or the seller will get access to our website to see the report. The report could be left on the site, could be downloaded, could be printed, you know, PDFs. If you want to send out the report to prospective buyers, you just send them a PDF attachment. Very quick, very easy and clean. Buyers will get access to our appliance registry, recall registry. They can register any appliance, whether it's a fridge, stove, a furnace, a car, a TV, and our service will notify them if there's ever a recall on that appliance today or 5 years from now. If something changes and there's a recall on your dishwasher, there's a recall on your car, your baby car seat, you'll get emailed and notified as to what the issue is and what you need to do to correct it. And we also throw in MoveSnap. I think most of you guys are somewhat familiar with MoveSnap. MoveSnap is an app that helps clients set up or close their utility accounts. So they're leaving their existing house, they're closing all the utilities, moving to a new house, opening up new accounts. This is an app that makes the whole process incredibly quick and easy. And there's typically a fee associated with that, but we pay for it and it's included in the inspection fee.
All right, that's wonderful. Okay, when Dana asked for Ray's business card, guys, Ray's on our website on suttonsummit.ca. He is also on the packages that I'm sending out today, which is the listing and buying presentations that I've prepared for all of you to use. So his logo, his contact is on there as well. And of course, you can at any time call me up or Elizabeth or David to get Ray's numbers. You can find it on other places. Any more questions? Is that it? Ray, anything to add?
No, I don't
Right.
think so. It's how do you guys find the marketplace? Crazier than it was 4 years ago?
Oh dear Lord, yeah. If we thought it was crazy then.
Yeah. I never thought I'd see it twice in 4 years, but
You know, it's ridiculous because the further you go away, the more expensive it seems to be. You know, yeah.
Our area of
Bungalows
service.
in Orangeville with 2
Yeah.
washrooms and 3 bedrooms are going for 1.2 million in
Wow.
Orangeville,
Yeah.
right? Georgetown, these are the places on fire. The further you
Yeah.
go, because the psyche of the buyer is that we won't be able to afford close to town. So everybody's rushing for that, and everybody's then landing in 11, 12, 13 offers.
Yeah. Our area of service just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. People are, especially now with COVID and all that, people are working in downtown Toronto and living in Guelph, Niagara Falls, Niagara on the Lake. It's just doesn't matter where they live anymore. So the circle just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's strange times. Yeah.
All right, everybody, thank you for joining.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Ray,
guys.
as always.
Really
Have a good
appreciate
day.
it. Great to see everyone.
All right, see you. Bye.
Bye-bye.